Hello, today for review I've got a relatively affordable but very interesting model. It's Audiosense DT100. Audiosense is one of that companies that subjectively I really like for their approach to the sound, for their approach to design, and for the products they've released. They already created a few really interesting models, starting with their bestseller T800 and a pair of nice hybrids AQ7 and AQ3, and now they've decided to release an entry-level model DT100. Its price is about $110 or something like that, and it's a single balanced armature in-ear monitors, actually a rare beast nowadays, using the full range Knowles balanced armature driver. So that already makes this model interesting and standing out from the common typical designs of modern Hi-Fi market. So let's have a closer look. In terms of package, it's nice, simple, but looks pretty good. On the back side there are technical specifications, so 18 ohms of impedance, 106 decibels of sensitivity, so basically nice, good figures. Not super sensitive, not too hard to drive, so something in between. Inside of the outer shell there is inner box, so earpieces were here, but now I store them in case, and short manual / warranty card, and a case that definitely reminds the Campfire Audio ones. I think that Audiosense found that company that make cases for the Campfire Audio and ordered some. Here are earpieces themselves. Also you will have stock cable and two set of tips. So traditional pure black silicons and gray silicons with green stems. So we've seen that tips many times before on the Hi-Fi market. And as an additional accessory we can count this stripe of Velcro used for cable organization. In terms of design, earphones are really nice. Shells are small, they are most probably 3D printed, made of some polymer plastic. I'm not sure, is it resin or something like other, acrylic or maybe some other materials, but shells have nice pleasant blue color. They are transparent, so we can easily see that driver inside, and you can see that driver is a bit unusual because it has a sound port on the side, not on the front like usually done for balanced armatures, and one single sound tube goes to the spout. Spout have an average length and sound isolation is also average. There is a filter, small lip for holding the tips, so these aspects are done nicely. And shells are pretty ergonomic, so they will fit nicely even into small ears, so I don't think there will be some issues. Faceplates are done with some random patterns, looks pretty nice, so maybe nothing super fancy, but looks pretty attractive, and what else we can want in this price range. So basically everything is done on a good level. Cables are made replaceable, here used MMCX connectors, and they seems to be pretty durable because they connect and disconnect with nice well-defined clicks, so probably they will serve for some long time. And stock cable is nice, it looks fancy, it has silver color, it has 4 strands for each earpiece. There are ear hooks formed, but cables itself are pretty soft, not the super soft, but on the softer side, and it's nicely braided. Here is the splitter with chin slider, so also looks attractive, and after the splitter it goes, all 8 wires go down to the angle jack. So for this price tire it's a pretty well made cable, looks attractive, and actually it also sounds attractive, so what else we can want here. And as you can see, in terms of outlook, design, package, accessory set and all that other stuff, earphones are done also on a really good level. And of course about the sound, I gave them about 40 hours of burn-in. I didn't expect any sound change, and that didn't happen. Balanced armatures are rarely change sound much during the burn-in, and single balanced armature of course even more rare example when sound can change, so no burn-in required for them. It's more important to find the proper tips. I've got better results with this green stem tips, but of course feel free to experiment with different tips and options because it changes sound in a noticeable way sometimes. Let's have a player to show the examples on the table. Today it will be Fios M15, and let's talk. These earphones actually sound like you can probably expect from a single balanced armature shifted a bit towards the warmer side, because Audiosense didn't want to create neutral or monitoring model focused on the micro detalization. They have AQ3, for example, with such tuning, and there are a lot of other options, so instead they went towards the more organic and musical representation, and that gives a pretty pleasant result, especially unexpected for the single balanced armature sometimes. Bass has a really good depth, not the maximum, but pretty decent depth. It has nice weight, it's a bit accented but not too much, but at the same time it's a good weight for balanced armatures, comparing with dynamic driver, low frequencies sounding faster and more lightweight. It's definitely not the bass head model, not the model to pump the big amounts of air to give super weighty, super massive low frequencies, no. It's balanced armatures, and strong side here is resolution, micro contrast, small nuances and so on. But at the same time these earphones gives a bit of additional weight to create a warmer sound. They sounding really pleasant with acoustic instruments, double bass, with brass instruments and all other stuff. With electronic music it's okay, but probably for such genres that relies on the synthesized low frequencies, many will prefer something hybrid, because dynamic driver will give more weight and more body for the low frequencies. But if your media library consists mainly of natural instruments and electronic music are rare guests in your playlist, they can definitely do a good work. I listen to some electronic genres with them, they are nice, but of course if you have a lot of them, maybe it's better to consider something hybrid. But they shine when it comes to naturalness and technical resolution. But at the same time they are not dry like some balanced armatures does, and they are not focused on the delivering maximum amount of detalization, but texturing is still nice. And of course pretty expectable, Musica Nuda. It's the tracks, the music that these earphones shines, because they have a good resolution and at the same time a hint of warmth that does magic things with acoustic double bass here. It's sounding super realistic and really enjoyable. And of course low frequencies transition smoothly to mids, and mids transitions to treble, so single driver means 100% coherence. And actually my compliments to the Knolls, because they created a pretty technical and agile driver, because usually balanced armatures can play only one part of sonic spectrum, and single balanced armature models gives like some limited sound. They can be vocal centered or bass heavy with super recessed treble, while this driver and these earphones delivers a really well balanced sound. Mids have a good resolution, but at the same time they are definitely not as dry as I've expected for a single balanced armature. It's not focused on the micro contrast, it has a bit of additional weight thanks to the low frequencies representation, and part of that weight from low frequencies feeds the mids. and that means nice emotions, good body for the instruments, and pretty nice macro dynamic. But at the same time they are not focused on the micro contrast and doesn't try to deliver all the small tiniest details and highlight them. Resolution is good, but they just not highlighting that small details, and that means that they are pretty forgiving for the quality of record, but not 100%, so better records would be a plus for them anyway. Imaginary stage is slightly above average, and it's pretty good for the bit warmer in the monitors, and that they have a good layer separation, and also width is done nicely. And example for the mid frequencies is Shine On You Crazy Diamond Part 1, and this model sounds nicely. Maybe it's not super spacious with this track, and some more expensive models will do the better job for this track, but for this price it sounds really enjoyable, and actually I like this hint of added weight. It fits vocal and saxophone part really nicely. Here adding a bit of that vintage sense that this track benefits from. And treble is accented, but not too much, at least at my scale. Maybe for super treble sensitive people it will be too much, but I really doubt that treble can be a trouble for someone. Extension is slightly above average, and it's a really typical balanced armature treble, nice, clean, crisp, slightly accented, giving a bit of additional brilliance and a bit of additional airiness, but at the same time with a bit faster attacks and decays, giving a bit lightweight type of treble representation, but still sounding nice and natural. It's not super layered, and it's not superb in overtone saturation, but still basic overtones sounding nicely and present, giving a lot of that small sounds, all small decays and all that other stuff. So in this aspect treble sounds clean and crisp and balancing the mids and lows fairly well. And as an example I've got another my track that I love. It's Eleanor Rigby by Beatles from this Love album. I like this remastered version, and Eleanor Rigby, it's violins and vocal, and that requires nice treble performance, and these earphones delivers that pretty well. So once again it's V-shaped representation, but less weighty on lows because of balanced armatures, and of course with good resolution, but not focused on the micro contrast. Really good choice for those who listen to natural instruments and for those who like technical representation, but with a hint of added warmth in order to reduce that sharpness and monitoring analyticalness. And about the pairings, actually they require some nice source. They can be used with smartphones or something like that, but it's better to use at least some digital tonal converter with them, and even better to pair them with some player from the entry level or even up to the middle segment, because they pairs nicely with, for example, Shanling M6. I really like the emotional representation they give together. Or you can pair them with FIO M11 to get an additional resolution and more natural sound. Speaking about the conversions, actually there is only one model in this price range I can instantly recall. It's FIO's FA1. FA1 has a bit more bass, a bit thinner and a bit less weighty mids, and a bit more accented treble. Sorry, not accented, reduced treble, so they are a bit more warmer, but at the same time they are warmer not because of added weight on mids like here. They are warmer because of recessed treble and a bit dominating lower part of spectrum, while this one has a bit more accented treble and a bit more refined and a bit more extended. I don't see much sense in comparing them with some typical hybrids or dynamic drivers, because you know they're sounding really different, and balanced armatures in hybrids and dynamic drivers are usually more Actually, balanced armatures in hybrids more focused on the micro contrast usually than here, and dynamic drivers just pumping more weight on the more air on the low frequencies, giving more weight, and often for the price of less resolution. So I won't do any additional comparisons. You can ask if you can recall some single balanced armatures in this price range, or maybe not single, but not that typical Chinese multi-balanced armatures setups like KZ does, for example, because usually KZ are warmer and less technical than this model. It reminds a bit, let's say, Brainwav's B400, for example, but B400 is a bit more weighty and a bit on the warmer side more. So Audiosense created really interesting model that stands out from the typical offers in this price range, and that makes them interesting. Technical, but at the same time organic in representation. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.